Hi, hope you're having a great day wherever you are. We're having a cloudy day today, and it got me thinking about clouds, heavenly clouds. I love looking at the sky and clouds. I always think of heaven when I look up at the sky. Jesus came down from heaven to be the light of the world, and the sky always reminds me of that gift. Psalm 19 verse 1 says, "The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of His hands." That must be why I love the sky so much. God paints beautiful colors in the sky to remind us of Him and the gift of Jesus. It's fun to look at the sky over the lake, and we are going there today, so let's go see. Lake now, and focusing on the sky. There are lots of different kinds of clouds. There's fluffy white ones. There's some that look like they're windy. They have streaks. There's a lot of blue sky peeking through the fluffy clouds. And then on the other side of my kayak, there's this dark clouds on the other side, like they might be bringing in a storm. But over here, it's bright. And here, this light is peeking through, just like Jesus. He peeks through the storm, doesn't he? He shines. He doesn't peek. He shines through the storm. And that's what I think of when I see a bright light peeking through a stormy sky. It's quite a wonderful looking sky. Lots of gray. But my imagination sees all kinds of things when I look up at the sky. What do you see? What does it make you think of when you're looking at the skies? I'll show you a few fun techniques for making clouds if you have paint. I'm using watercolor paints, but you could use temper paints, liquid tempers, if you make them watery, not thick. So these are just fun ways, a couple of ways to make a cloud sort of shape, cloud-like. So I have a kind of a wide brush, and I have paper towels, because if you use wet paint and a paper towel to dab color, you can remove some color and make it look really interesting and kind of like a cloud. So let me show you just a few. Let's say I wanted to paint that dark stormy cloud up there, so I might put some color down. Oh, I need it to be darker. I could put some color down. And use my paper towel to pick up some. See how that does? It picks up a little bit of the color, and you could even use what you have on your paper towel to dab at other places on the paper. Isn't that fun? So it makes it less hard edge. It makes it soft, like clouds. They're kind of fluffy looking on the outside, aren't they? So if I wanted to make that stormy looking cloud, I might do something like that, and then pick up some color in the middle, more of the color in the middle to make that spot, that bright light spot in the middle. Then I could clean my brush, and I probably would want a bigger spot in the middle, so I'm going to just take some of that, get it wet, make a bigger space, take my paper towel, and pull up more of that paint so I can make room for some light. Okay, that's a little bit more space for light because I'm going to use a really bright yellow. Since I'm using white paper, I could just leave it white, but a lot of times when I'm doing skies like this, I see the light as being yellow. So I'm putting some yellow down. Then I'm going to use a clean paper towel and do the same thing. I'm going to dab some of that up So it's not just solid. See, it's kind of bright in some places and not as bright in others. And then maybe I want to make some streaks. So I can take my brush with a little yellow still on it and pull it down. And then clean my brush, or get a different one, but make sure that it doesn't have any color on it, and do it again with no color. And then you're just pulling the paints down in a streaky way. See how it starts to make some streaks? And that's what I kind of see up in those clouds. So that's one way to use watercolors to make it look sort of cloud-like. You can also, I'm going to go to a different part of my paper now. So scoop my paper up a little, and you can get your paper wet first. Now I'm just brushing water on my paper. Just brushing water all across my paper on the bottom, underneath that first experiment. Then I'll take that same dark color and put it in there, and look what happens. It just spreads all around without me even moving it. I can dab it if I want to, but it spreads wherever there's water. And if I want to help it, I can blow. Make it look kind of windy. You can do this with a straw too. But I also can take a paper towel again and dab if I want to get some of that water up. Maybe I don't want it quite so soggy. You don't want it drippy, or it'll just make your paints go like all over the paper and you won't be able to isolate them. But I have a little opening right here, so I'm going to pretend that that is where that light is coming through. I'm going to find a different brush, a little bit smaller brush, and get it a little bit wet but not drippy, and I'm going to get some of that bright yellow and paint in here. And since I dried it a little bit, it won't be quite as, it won't run into the blue as much, because I don't want it to turn all green. Because you know, blue and yellow, they mix green. So then, while I still have yellow on my brush, I can streak it the other way. And I don't want it to be so green, so I wipe off the paint and just pull it up with no paint on it at all. Isn't that fun? And you may not see the streaks that bright in the sky, but you can imagine them. And a lot of my paintings, I imagine the skies a little bit different than they actually are, because they put really amazing pictures in my head. I'll show you one in a minute that I painted this morning of a stormy sky. And it's very different from these because I used a different style, a different technique. Okay, so those are a couple ways, a couple of fun ways you can use watercolor if you have it, or tempera paint, to make some fluffy, kind of stormy skies, or you could do the same thing with the bright sunset kind of skies. This is that painting I told you I just did this morning about how God's light shines through a storm. And I called it Light in the Storm. So all these little bright yellow marks are how I am showing God's light breaking through, spreading out like ripples underneath the stormy clouds. So I used my imagination, didn't I? Because those don't look like clouds, but to me they represent the sky. They're one way that I paint the sky, with all the movement and the streaks and the colors that I imagine. So just wanted to show you that, because when you're thinking about painting the sky or anything, you may not paint it just like it looks. You may paint it the way your imagination sees it. Have fun looking at your sky, looking at the skies over my lake and these pictures of some skies, and explore ways to show how you feel about the sky and what parts of it tell a story to you. What do you think of? And I'll see you next time.